Huh? Oh, you're in trouble now, son. Hippie-ki-yay, cover buckets. Wait, shit, that's not right. Come back and do a second take. It's that time of year once more. The chestnuts are roasting on an open fire. There is a tree in my living room, for reasons. No, you live outside. That's your home. Are you too good for your home? And I'm preparing for a fat man to commit home invasion via my chimney.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
That means it must be Christmas. And I'm not one of these edgelords whom is too cool for Christmas. It's by far my favourite time of the year. So I really wanted to cover something interesting this seasonal episode. I didn't just want to find another game with snow and call it a day. I wanted something that actually stands for Christmas. I considered Parasite Eve a great game that is set at Christmas. But hybrid JRPGs make for incredibly long and in-depth retrospectives. Not something I was looking for. Days before Christmas? I mean, I tried it, and not only has it been well covered over the years, it just isn't that interesting. Cthulhu Saves Christmas? Wait, what? No. None of this is what I'm looking for. Wait, what's this? Damn. The answer was there all along, right in front of my face. The Grinch Who Stole Christmas. No. Back down. Ah, yes. I believe that would be perfect. Automatically dragging up the age-old question. Right, let's get this out the way. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Not only is it a Christmas movie, it's the ultimate Christmas movie. Fight me. Yes, I know it's been the centrepiece of many a nerd debate over the years. But I've never understood it. The way I look at it is this. Have you ever heard someone pontificate, Home Alone isn't a Christmas movie? No, of course not. That would be stupid. So, what's at the core of the film? It's set at Christmas. A lone protagonist fights invading enemies. There's Christmas trees, Christmas music, the reunion of a family. Home Alone is a personification of the season, right? Well, I wasn't listing the themes from Home Alone. I was listing the themes from Die Hard. I've always thought of Die Hard as the adult version of Home Alone, and you can't have it both ways. If one isn't a Christmas movie, then neither is the other. Right, is that cleared up? Good, with the understanding that I'm right and anyone with a dissenting opinion is wrong. It's on with the retrospective. So the next issue I arrived at is which video game adaptation to cover. Die Hard has had multiple tie-in games, 10 in total. No, mobile games are not a real thing, especially when developed by Gameloft. And I actually put a lot of thought into this, as there was quite a diverse pool of games to pick from. First on the list was the NES, C64, PC Engine and DOS interpretations of John McTiernan's classic action movie. There were 4 games made under the original moniker of Die Hard, the first of which was released on DOS in 1989. Although being the earliest example, I thought this was the best looking version, using a pseudo 3D third-person view. Then, in 1990, we got the Commodore 64 and PC Engine releases, both very average games. with the C64 iteration looking particularly poor. Best described as a cheap knockoff of Project Firestart, lacking the impressive cabinet projection, and finally, onto the NES release. Yes, I know, AVGN lampooned this one in the only way he knows how, but the nerd is a character James Rolfe plays up, and the game wasn't that bad. None of these jumped out at me, however, as interesting enough to cover. Outside those, Die Hard 2 for the C64, Die Hard Arcade, originally not even a licensed game, initially released in Japan as Dynamato Deka. Then there was Die Hard Trilogy 2, set in Las Vegas, and finally Die Hard Vendetta, set 5 years after the third movie. All these latter games were set outside the original movie, and really wasn't what I was looking for. This finally brought me to 2 titles. Now, my first instinct was to play Die Hard Trilogy for the PlayStation. It was a legend of its time. I played it to death in the 90s, and was the game I considered covering last Christmas. And, well, meh. It's slightly overplayed in the current day, and honestly, it doesn't hold up like I thought. But then, a memory came flowing back to me. A distant memory. A memory locked away for a long time. It was 20-something years ago, and I was working a stopgap job I had before joining the fire brigade. That job was sales assistant at Game, and the memory? Looking down at an obscure and suspiciously cheap PC game on the bottom shelf. That game was Die Hard Nakatomi Plaza, and I distinctly remember thinking, man, that looks awesome. For whatever reason, I never actually played it. And the reason I'm telling you this is because this retrospective isn't just about covering a Christmas game. It's about me dealing with some unfinished business. Yes, Die Hard Nakatomi Plaza was what I eventually landed on, which means I'm stepping outside my comfort zone of consoles, venturing into the scary and confusing world of retro PC gaming. But I'm pumped to be getting a new Die Hard experience during the Christmas period. Nakatomi Plaza was released in 2002, as mentioned, being a somewhat budget title. At the time, I remember seeing this at work. It was priced at a modest 20 quid, a price point that even back then led to my interest being piqued. The game was developed by Piranha Games and published by Sierra Online. Yes, I know, not the sort of title you'd expect from Sierra of punishingly hard point-and-click adventure fame. I will get into all that later, because I really want to keep this preface short and sweet, but I will quickly mention I will be spoiling the shit out of the Die Hard film and its game adaptation. Really though, if you haven't seen Die Hard by now, you need to turn this off immediately, question your life choices, and watch one of the greatest 80s action films, because honestly, I don't think we can be friends until you do so. Right, with that being said, let's do it. Let's get lost in a classic Christmas adventure. The game opens up on the same panning shot as the film, with the title sliding in here rather than at the airport. This isn't followed by John McClane learning the virtues of fist toes, and straight away expectations need to be set. This is not a shot-for-shot remake of the film, but rather a slight reimagining. I will go further into the differences between the film and the game as we go, as it was part of the reason I picked it for the Christmas episode. But you do need to know, not only does Nakatomi Plaza cut scenes from the film out, it also adds new sections in. By coincidence, this game is very similar to the subject of my upcoming 007 retrospective, From Russia with Love. Both games are based on movies, and both are far more enjoyable when considered a director's cut of the source material. I personally choose to see this as a love letter to the film, but you should be aware, I'm feeling rather charitable right now, as it is the season after all. Right, into the game. Let's go with normal to begin with. And...
Ladies, on behalf...
Oh, no. Something isn't right here. Well, we have some frame rate issues, but let's see what we've got. The lobby to Nakatomi Plaza looks nice. Christmas tree. So as mentioned, Christmas game confirmed. Good stuff. And... oh dear God. Oh my, what's going on here? Mate, your skin suit seems to be a little... Your buddy over here seems to be suffering from the same condition. All jokes aside, you might want to get that looked at. Well, let's get on the elevator and see if it improves. Okay, I'm out. So, yeah, this is what you can expect when trying to run this game on modern hardware. A broken, unplayable mess. Piranha Games did release a patch for this game, which fixes the model anchor errors, meaning this was a problem even at release, but this doesn't fix the frame rate issues. Over to the PC Gaming Wiki, and there is quite an extensive list of fixes. I tried limiting the FPS in the Nvidia control panel with no luck, and the suggested fix is using a wrapper such as DG Voodoo 2. Look, I'm going to level with you. Getting these old games working on modern hardware is not something I enjoy, and removing all the inevitable bloat off my main PC is not my bag. I enjoy watching Ross's game dungeon, and while Ross seems to enjoy the challenge of getting these old games running and always enabling widescreen, no matter the cost, that's not for me.
What did it cost?
Everything.
So the simplest solution is just to dive into my treasure trove of retro PC hardware. Yes, I'm a massive hoarder and built something period appropriate. In the end, this is what I went with. We got an Asus motherboard with XP compatible drivers, an Athlon 2 X2 3GHz CPU, 4GB of DDR3 RAM, and the Nvidia GT710 with 2GB of VRAM, picked for its HDMI output, making capturing with the RetroTink 4K much easier. While not the best XP-based PC I could build with what I have, all the components are totally compatible with Windows XP using the official manufacturer's drivers and easily betters the recommended specs of the game. Plus, I even get to use the original game disc. Here's the CD key. Enjoy. So, with hopes and prayers, let's boot this bad boy up. And Ross, you'd be proud of me. I even got 1080p widescreen working by editing the config file. Good. The FPS is fixed. But oh no you didn't.
For making this one of the greatest years in the history of the Nakatomi Corporation. On behalf of our president, Mr. Ozu, and the board of directors, we thank all of you.
This is not the voice of Joe Takagi.
Vice Chairman, Nakatomi Investment Group.
Enough.
And father of 5.
I am Takagi.
I wasn't expecting James Sugeta or any of the original actors to voice the characters in this budget game. I'm not even expecting a Mickey Rooney, John Galt, me speaky English poor taste Japanese impression.
You want to wash Wang? Or you want to watch Wang wash Wang? You got the low Wang's motor running now!
But Joe Takagi had real gravitas, a man of principle, willing to die for his honour.
Get on the jet to Tokyo and ask the chairman. I'm telling you, you're just gonna have to kill me.
Okay.
This dude sounds like he would piss his pants at the sight of a sharp, pointy stick, let alone keeping his cool while Alan Rickman menacingly places a gun on the table. That being said, not all the voice acting is terrible. Argyle's actor is fine.
Alright, I tell you what. I'm gonna pull into the parking garage and wait. If you score, you hit me up on my car phone, and then I'll take your bags to the desk.
And Michael Blancard does a very reasonable impression of Bruce Willis.
Just a fly in the ointment, Hans, a monkey in the wrench, a pain in the ass.
It's far from perfect, but when judging the impression as snarky New Yorker,
Come with me if you want to stay alive.
I'm fine with it. He also reprises the role in the game following this one, Die Hard Vendetta.
Welcome to the party, pal.
So, we're finally back in the lobby. And look, the textures are fixed. The days of work getting Windows XP working was worth it. I actually think the game looks better on this 20-year-old hardware. Looks like I'll be buying the 5090 then. The 4090 just clearly isn't up to the job. I decided not to install the 1.04 patch. Everything seems to be fine, and I'm getting the feeling a brisk wind would be enough to break it. So for now, we're playing as released. As you would expect, this is a game of set pieces, like the information panel in the lobby. And kids, I cannot tell you how impressive this touchscreen panel was back then. As a child, I was blown away by this tech, and the thing is, I can't actually find any factoids that this screen wasn't real. Capacitive and resistive touchscreens had been around since 1965. So for my own cope, I'm saying it's real. This is the definition of on rails. It doesn't matter where you touch the screen, the sequence will follow the film. This being when we find out John's wife Holly is using her maiden name, creating the first area of conflict in the movie. And for those of you who don't know, I'm about to show you something you will never be able to unsee. Apparently, the programmer of the directory panel is dyslexic. It's cool, I'm dyslexic. I get it. Words are hard. Right, let's move this along. To the lift and... oh, it's you again. And no, Takagi's voice performance does not improve. And what's going on here?
Oh my God! What's wrong with your face? What's wrong with your face?
I think judging how well the developers adapt the original film is down to personal opinion. Although the developers tried to shoehorn in the scene John finds out his wife is using her maiden name, there really is no conflict between the two here. Something that is even more obvious in this very emotionless cutscene. It was quite an important narrative driver and character development vehicle in the movie. Does it really matter this standalone game doesn't include this? Probably not. But if the aim is to stay faithful to the source material, then it's a bit of a failure to launch for me. Although, I understand why the developers didn't want to deliver too much exposition through these character models. Look at them.
Lifeless eyes. Black eyes, like a doll's eyes.
We're still in the on-the-rail setup. The game hasn't really started yet. And with the terrorists taking the partygoers hostage, we need to grab a gun. John, the shoes! Take the shoes! And so begins the game of cat and mouse throughout the building we are all so familiar with. Again, much like John McClane's voice actor, whomever is doing an impression of Hans Gruber is doing a reasonable job of imitating his speech pattern.
It is about to be taught a lesson in the real use of power. You will be witnesses.
It's hard to know the voice actor's name, as most of the cast are not properly credited. But let's be honest, when you're trying to emulate anything Alan Rickman did in his career, you're going to come up short. Rest in peace, Alan. So, we start with the game proper. John will give audible clues in the level, like pulling the fire alarm, as done in the film.
A fire alarm!
Then, we finally get introduced to the gunplay. And it's not great. I think this is the main problem with Nakatomi Plaza's gameplay. It doesn't do anything new, like at all, but at the same time, it doesn't even keep up with titles of the time. As mentioned, this was a budget title, but that should never be an instant built-in excuse to paper over the cracks. In the same year, some top PC games were released with great gunplay and advanced AI. Out the games I played, released around 2002 for comparison, I found the gameplay of Return to Castle Wolfenstein the most enjoyable, even addictive at times. The difference between these two games is night and day, with Nakatomi Plaza feeling incredibly wooden. The problems don't stop with the gunplay. The AI also leaves a lot to be desired. Again, returning to the well of games released around this time, titles like Unreal Tournament 2003, Soldier of Fortune 2, Double Helix, and even a game I played on this channel previously, Nightfire, gave us a taste of more innovative AI in first-person shooters. To be fair, Half-Life, although released 4 years earlier, was still causing a high watermark problem at this time, but talented developers could certainly break that mould. What was even more surprising was when launching the game for the first time and seeing the Lithtech engine logo. For those who don't know, the Lithtech engine was developed by Monolith, and the reason this is important is because it was used to make one of the all-time classic FPS games in Fear. In fairness, Fear wasn't released until 2005, using the far more advanced Jupiter version of the engine. However, there was a game we can use as a direct comparison. Released 2 years earlier and also published under Fox Games, the operative No One Lives Forever is a game with a legendary status. Like Nakatomi Plaza, it also used a second revision of the Lithtech engine and is a far better game, leaning far harder into stealth gameplay, something that could have worked much better in this Die Hard title. Although I did like some of the environmental effects, being able to blast papers off the tables, and the glass breaking effect is actually quite impressive. While talking about the engine used in this game, I just wanted to touch on the background, as the story of Nakatomi Plaza's development was actually quite interesting. As always, I spent time researching how this game came to be, and it actually started as a build engine total conversion of Duke 3D, moving over to the Gold Source engine when Half-Life completely shook up the industry. This game was eventually stopped in its tracks when the holders of the Die Hard IP, 20th Century Fox, allegedly sent a cease and desist to Piranha Games. And this accumulated in the game becoming jointly produced by Sierra Online and Fox Entertainment. And listen, you lot know I'm autistic about finding rare gameplay and media. And while I couldn't find any mention of the Gold Source version ever seeing the light of day, the build engine total conversion was a different story entirely. After going balls deep on archive.org, welcome back by the way, I was eventually led to the Duke4.net forums. I found the demo of Nakatomi Plaza uploaded 13 years ago, although my knowledge in this area is almost zero, meaning even on real hardware, I could not get this game to run. Now, I have to issue a massive thank you to Duke4.net forum user Danukum. He came to my rescue and got it working for me. And, well, this is what we got. The demo is only the lobby map of Nakatomi Plaza, very much a proof of concept, but I was very impressed with the attention to detail, even including the Christmas tree and the famous candy stall. Once the level is finished, we are taken to the next map, but this is all that's here. To make sure, I loaded up Mapster 32, and I can confirm there is nothing behind this door. Regardless of this being a very small demo, it was still super interesting to play, and I have left links in the description if you would like to try this out for yourself. Again, thanks to the Duke4.net forums and to Danukum, you're a true gentleman. Anyway, enough getting pulled off track, let's get back to the game. The enemies in Nakatomi Plaza can be aggressively hard at times and only seem to have 3 states. run away, take cover, or charge head on. And when they charge at you, you can easily have a good chunk of your health blown away. This is offset by a decent leaning mechanic, and I will give the game its due. Leaning was not a massive feature used in first-person shooters by 2002, so that is a good addition. Regardless of the problems, we play with what we have. And the good news is, even though the combat is quite poor, at least there is only 13 terrorists in the movie. So let's get the old counter up there, so we know when they are all defeated. Wait, what? No, no, no! Okay, let's see how deep this goes. $355 fucking terrorists. This is fake outrage in case you can't tell. I was never expecting 13 enemies in an FPS. That would make for either a very boring experience or a 10-minute game. But this does speak to another issue here. I'm cool with having plenty of enemies to gun down in an FPS. I expect it, but I will never applaud respawning enemies. It's one of my most detested tropes. I like to know when I clear an area, it's clear. No more bad guys jumping out at me. To be fair, this isn't something that happens throughout the whole game. Exclusive to a couple of levels. But still. Well, we are currently stretching the realism of the movie. But it's okay. And up next is the fight with Tony, with a cutscene emulating the movie. The few bosses can be tricky. They are complete bullet sponges. Luckily, I was never hurting for ammo while climbing the floors of Nakatomi Plaza, so it levels out the ridiculously high hit points of the bosses.
I could have used his shoes. 9 million terrorists in the world, and I gotta kill one with feet smaller than my sister.
Now, I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho.
Now this is what I was after from a Die Hard game, getting the feel of being in the film. And for all its problems, with a little imagination, Nakatomi Plaza definitely delivers on that front. The second level mixes it up from the first, which is always nice to see. The terrorists are planting C4 all over the 32nd floor. We are tasked with clearing the floor and using the wire cutters to disarm the explosives. This does bring up something that is a shame, the blandness of the levels. I get it. Piranha Games were working with what they had, and while all the levels don't look exactly the same, this is the predominant level design we're going to get. It's all very beige, grey and empty. The textures are actually quite detailed, especially the decals, used to add satirical posters, and these pictures posted throughout the game. No, I don't even need to look this up. These are clearly self-inserts from the developers. Problem is, even though the visuals are reasonably easy on the eye, when most of the levels are comprised of concrete and plasterboard, this is always going to be the result. Probably a good time to talk about the status system in Die Hard MP. While researching, I found this all but lost interview with the head designer, Alan Fremantle, during my scouring of the Wayback Machine. He actually had some interesting insights into the development, but the section I found most interesting was when talking about the heart, lungs, and brain status bars. He explains the heart and lungs are obviously health and stamina respectively, but he seems particularly proud of the morale system, indicated by the brain icon. Alan talks about how John McClane's morale will affect the difficulty of the game. Terrorists, SWAT team members, and even NPCs will affect this stat. I appreciate Alan Fremantle's enthusiasm. On paper, it sounds like a very intriguing and innovative system for the time, but in reality, it's a complete red herring. In my experience, throughout the game, I completely forgot it was there, and unfortunately, it had no noticeable effect on the gameplay. When you finish a game and have to look up in the manual what a feature actually did retroactively, the gameplay element has found its purpose to enhance the experience. I do actually have thoughts on how this bar could have been better used, but we will have to circle back to that later when more relevant. Ah, the roof. What Die Hard game would be whole without it? Complete with snarky dialogue with LA Dispatch.
No kidding, lady, do I sound like I'm ordering a pizza?
The walkie-talkie from now on will be our main device of exposition delivery. It's fine in a short section like here, but later it will be far more distracting. Pretty straightforward, although stretched out from the film. Shoot down the aforementioned infinitely spawning enemies, do some busy work, and then it's time to introduce our deuteragonist, our pal.
Investigate code 2 at Nakatomi Plaza, Century City.
8 Lincoln 30 to dispatch. I'm on my way.
Yeah, I've been holding out on you kids. While I did say this game is without the voice talent of Bruce Willis and Alan Rickman, I never said all the original actors are missing. Yep, Reginald VelJohnson makes his return as Sergeant Al Powell. Out of all the main characters, Reginald has been far more open to cameos and bit parts than the other stars of Die Hard, so this is probably no surprise. No shade, make haste while the sun shines. And it put a smile on my face hearing VelJohnson reprise his most famous role.
I hear you, partner. LA's finest are on it.
Well, John's escaped the roof, and that can only mean one thing.
Come out to the coast, we'll get together, have a few laughs. Now I know what a TV dinner feels like.
What do you think of that? I really enjoyed the delivery of that line. The voice actor nailed it in my opinion, and it speaks to the attention to detail in Die Hard Nakatomi Plaza. The game publishers secured a deal with Zippo to include their logo in the game. Explaining the sneaky inclusion of this product placement, even small details have been acknowledged. It's a well-known fact, Bruce Willis is a famous lefty, and while it could be considered slightly awkward having a left-handed protagonist in an FPS, it works absolutely fine, and I really appreciate the nod to the film. With Fox eventually coming in as a publisher of the game, according to the developers, Rupert Murdoch's media company was very accommodating to the team. Briefly going back to the interview I mentioned earlier, Alan Fremantle states Fox were very helpful during the development, supplying the art department with set photos, behind-the-scenes shots, and even allowing them to visit Nakatomi Plaza, which in reality, at the time, was the Fox headquarters. All this would have helped Piranha Games not only accurately depict the film set, but also expand the scope. This is what I really enjoyed about Nakatomi Plaza. For all its faults, and there are quite a few, this game really is all about the vibe. So, it's time to shuffle John through the large, movie-sized vents, complete with a set piece of terrorists shooting up the ventilation system. Once these vent-shooting motherfuckers are dealt with, it's on to the second boss battle with Marco. Yeah, you remember Marco from the film, probably delivers one of my favourite gunfight scenes in the movie. I was interested to see how they would translate this over to this game, and the answer is, not well. He is just another bullet sponge enemy with no special under-the-table shootout. I do get it though. I have no idea how they could have pulled that off short of a QTE section.
Thanks for the advice.
And on the plus side, we have a body to yeet at Sergeant Powell. Whoa. Stop right there. Back it up, frame by frame. Yeah, that's what I thought.
I'm under automatic rifle fire in Nakatomi. I need backup assistance now! Now, goddammit, now!
Listen up. The police have arrived. Stay off your radios until I say otherwise. Our communications could be monitored.
Hello there.
I told all of you I want radio silence until further notice.
Since I waxed Tony and Marco and his friend here, I figured you and Carl and Franco might be a little lonely, so I wanted to give you a call.
Hey, anyone? Anyone out there?
Argyle? Argyle, stay off the line and stay where you are. Do you copy?
Hey, what's up out there? I'm locked in the garage. I need help.
Ah, one of the first deviating scenes exclusive to this game I have been talking about, and they are sprinkled in far more often from now on. Argyle is in trouble in the garage, and it's John to the rescue. After successfully protecting Argyle, we come face to face with Yamas, one of Han's right-hand men, and for those who don't know, Vigo the Carpathian. Don't feel bad if you didn't notice this. I didn't know this was Wilhelm von Homburg for years, and he's wielding a rather nice M60. Say, that's a nice gun. He will run away in a puff of smoke to fight another day, leaving us to push forward and meet the acquaintance of, a fucking SWAT team.
Powell, call your SWAT guys off. They're shooting at everyone in sight, including me.
Gonna be honest, not one of my favourite additions to the game. They never come into contact with John in the film, mostly used as cannon fodder for the terrorists. But here, we have to deal with the SWAT team quite a bit. They act as a lazy way to set an artificial timer to the levels. Take too long going through the stage the SWAT teams are on, and they will catch up to you and quickly end your game. It's not even like you can return fire. As Al says,
You return fire at them and you know as well as I do you won't make it.
and this is definitely the game telling you not to return fire, because hitting them with even one bullet leads to a game over, even if by accident. To be honest, my frustration is definitely compounded by this happening on the sewer level. I mean, we all hate sewer levels, right? It's all good though. The frustration is offset by picking up an M16 assault rifle from a member of the Fallen Boys in Blue. We also get our first flash grenades and a new gun that's described in the manual as a sniper rifle with an alternate semi-automatic firing mode using 5.56mm ammo. Nice. This is massive foreshadowing because the game will not let you leave this level until you pick this up.
It's locked.
Wonder what we'll have to snipe. It's actually a very good weapon, and after our sewer constitutional, it's not long until we return above ground level and John is back in the comfort zone of his precious vents. By this point, he is more rat than man. The full floor is our next destination to rectify some unfinished business with Yamez and that sweet M60. It's actually a tricky fight, aided by waves of cavalry, but with the help of an exploding barrel, we finally get our hands on that awesome M60. Ammo is limited, which probably is a good thing, because this is totally OP. This will be saved for later, tricky fights, but that doesn't mean it's not infinitely fun blowing away the odd terrorist here and there. Die Hard Nakatomi Plaza has thrown plenty of gameplay variations at us by now, some good, some bad, and then there's what's to come. Yep, escort missions. Great. Fucking fantastic. This is pretty much the only reason the police badge is in our inventory. Take it out, tell them you're a Bobby, earning their trust. It's very much a tacked-on mechanic. Kind of a neat idea. But if the escort sections are here just so the developers can shoehorn in John flashing his police badge for a couple of seconds, I would rather it was left on the cutting room floor. Anyway, the first of the escort missions isn't too bad. This guy pretty much stays out the way while John clears the floor.
saw some of those men in tights.
Use an axe to open up the route to the back room and the window cleaning lift. He only got fired at once, which isn't too bad.
We should be fucking dead, man.
But then we ride the aerial lift platform. And after some dialogue with Al, trying to remind us we're in a Die Hard game.
Got a visual on you, Roy. I know it's LA, but you should dress a little warmer for December.
Very funny.
We run into this gelatinous motherfucker.
Take what you want. Don't hurt me. I don't have any money.
I'm not here to rob you. My name's John McClane. I'm a cop.
Oh, just one shot. I want to do it so much. Yeah, this was a far more irritating iteration of the escort mission. And the reason for the frustration? Probably the worst set piece in the game. Now let me preempt this. I have mentioned previously, I was a firefighter for 20 years. In fact, it's the only area I would be considered a professional expert. You'll have to give me some leeway here. It's rare that I ever get to use my years of experience in my retirement. But I finally get to exercise my firefighting knowledge to pull apart this small section in a silly budget video game. And no, I'm not bitter at all. All those years of experience have been whittled down to this at all. So, we exit the room to find the only smoking enemy in the game. Convenient. Once shot, he drops the cigarette. And the first problem. This is not how smouldering fires work. This would be a slow, radiating heat until it reaches the right range between the upper and lower flammable level mix, leading to combustion when the correct combination of heat, oxygen, and fuel has been satisfied. Now, not only is this not how fires spread, but this is probably the worst looking fire I have ever seen in a 3D game. I mean, this yellowy, poorly animated blob looks terrible. Anecdotally, if this was a real fire, you wouldn't be able to see more than a foot in front of your face due to the smoke. Unable to breathe without BA. And especially with a fire this big, you would be crawling on your belly like a roasting snake due to the heat of the gases above you. And for those of you that have never used one of these pathetic fire extinguishers, you would be lucky if this put out a tiny kitchen fire, let alone a burning inferno. And I'm not even going to tell you why jumping over fire is a bad idea. Oh, and one more thing, unrelated to the game, but something that has bothered me for years in the film. I can't speak in absolutes about LA Fire Department policies, but I imagine there's a crossover between them and London Fire Brigade. And there is no way, in a million years, if a high-rise building's fire alarm was activated, the firefighters would just turn back if called off. We have to attend these calls every bloody time, no matter what, just to make sure there's no fire.
You stupid motherfuckers! No! Turn the fucking truck around!
In reality, these firefighters would have 100% been gunned down by Gruber's goons. Sorry, I will stop. Thanks for indulging me. And maybe one day I'll tell you why Ladder 49 and Backdraft are absolute dog shit movies factually. The biggest issue with the escort mission is the pathfinding. The civilian is happy to trap his fat ass in a room until the fire makes him unreachable. Or maybe even just run into enemy fire, making the mission fail. Why not? Great stuff. The funny thing is, after all this, Fatty just falls down the elevator shaft. So what was the fucking point? Oh, calm. At least we're at one of the best scenes from the movie, the C4 explosion. And while some of the spoken lines haven't been great, listen to this and tell me this isn't a great recreation.
Hit it again.
Hans, you motherfucker, you made your point, now let him pull back!
Thank you, Mr. Cowboy. I'll take it under advisement. Hit it again.
This differs from the movie, where John McClane takes it upon himself to drop the C4 down the lift shaft to save the SWAT team, causing tension between the Deputy Police Chief Dwayne Robinson and our favourite pain-in-the-arse protagonist. Whereas here, our pal suggests to John blowing the C4 would be a good idea.
What about that C4 you said was around? Drop it on him or something.
While nowhere near the expensive set piece from the film, The game does an excellent job of pulling off this iconic scene. Another famous scene follows this. The radio chat between John and Ellis, where Gruber finds out the identity of the Boy Scouts causing him all these problems, and this is not as well done as the C4 scene. I touched on this earlier, but the walkie-talkie scenes in this game are an absolute momentum killer. The reason it works so well in the film is because the switching shots were short and sweet, while being able to see John McClane in shot, with Bruce Willis giving the performance of his career. John McTiernan also used clever cinematography techniques like lighting the opposite side of Bruce Willis's face while shooting from the dark angle. It's a commonly used trick in cinema called Rembrandt lighting, but here it adds intensity to these sections. This doesn't translate well over to an FPS. Everything is just so slow and wooden. I have cut most of these scenes out the video as they have been used constantly to convey the narrative, and these sections are just not that interesting. It takes a nice character building moment like this.
How about you, cowboy? You got any kids back on your ranch?
Yeah, 2. Sure hope I can see him swinging on a jungle gym with Al Jr. someday.
And turns it into this slog.
How about you, cowboy? Any kids back on the ranch?
Yeah, 2. Meet me at the playground?
One more emotional scene from later on in the film to solidify my point.
I just should have been behind her more. Oh, shit. Tell her that she's the best thing that ever happened to a bum like me.
By this point in the movie, John was a broken man, mentally and physically. It's said they tried to shoot this scene using different emotional states: anger, stoicism. But it was eventually Bruce Willis that wanted the conversation between John and Al to be an emotional, if I don't make it kind of affair, and this doesn't even make it into the game. It doesn't help when receiving the transmission, John will stop in his tracks, and there is something about these sections that just don't jive with me. Even down to the cinema-esque letterboxing borders, continuously dropping in and out makes this all seem a little off, and ends up being distracting. It doesn't help that this wet weekend doesn't even come close to capturing the sliminess of Ellis in the movie. I mean, where's the bloody goatee? I hope someone got flogged for that massive oversight.
Sorry, Ellis, I tried.
John! John! John?
Down goes Ellis, and Die Hard Nakatomi Plaza is now entering the end game.
Are you one of them? Please don't kill me.
Whoa, 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 relax, relax. I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm not gonna hurt you.
Oh, God.
What the hell are you doing up here? What were you looking for?
I managed to get out of there, and I was just trying to get up on the roof and see if I could signal for help, you know? It's just through here.
Forget the roof.
We can get... Come on, no, if we go...
Forget the roof. They got people all over it. Come with me if you want to stay alive. I'm John McClane. You are?
Clay. Bill Clay.
You know how to use a handgun, Bill?
I spent a weekend at a combat ranch. You know that game with the guns that shoot red paint? Probably seems kind of stupid to you.
Well, it's time for the real thing, Bill. All you gotta do is pull the trigger. Come on.
Ich bin auf dem Dreieck-Drittensboden. Kommen Sie sofort. Put down the gun and give me my detonators.
Bill, you speak German?
Put it down. Now.
Pretty tricky with that accent. You ought to be on TV with that accent. But what do you want with the detonators, Hans? I already used all the explosives. Or did I?
I'm going to count to 3.
Like you did with Takagi? Oops. No bullets. You think I'm fucking stupid, Hans?
You were saying, shoot the glass.
I actually think the developers pulled this scene off well. However, they do play this up as a big reveal. You might have noticed up till now, in the cutscenes, Hans Gruber's face has always been cleverly obscured. I actually noticed this as weird when playing, and when I got to this section, I finally realised why they were doing this. The developers wanted this to be the big reveal, not seeing what Hans looks like, then having the rug pulled out when realising civilian Bill Clay is actually the evil terrorist leader. Problem is, I would imagine almost anyone that played this game had seen the film. This wasn't a reveal for the audience in the movie. We knew Bill Clay was Gruber. This was a reveal for John McClane. The tension came from whether or not John would work it out before Gruber gets the jump on him.
You think I'm fucking stupid, Hans?
You were saying?
It's such a strange creative decision to make. And while they would have pulled this off, for anyone that hadn't seen Die Hard, it really doesn't work in such a famous tie-in game. It does work in some ways though. As I said, the character models are terrible in this game. So not seeing Gruber does add to his gravitas and infamy. I think this is why you never actually see John McClane. Even in the mirrors, with reflective mirrors being a mainstay in games around this time. And it was a good choice, as leaving the expressions of the characters up to the player's imagination is much better execution than letting these terrible models convey the narrative. The glass in the feet scene is also included here. It's done very well, and this is followed over into the next level, with John's health slowly lowering until you find the health pack in the bathroom. When I mentioned earlier, there could be a better use for the morale meter, this is what I was referring to. I know what you're thinking. A whole bar dedicated to one aspect of the movie. That's pretty stupid. And my answer to that would be, yeah, you're right. It's not like any games before this had included a foot meter. Oh, I'm not saying it's a perfect idea. What I am saying is a slowly depleting health bar depicting the health of John's feet would have been a much better use case than this totally pointless morale mechanic. Spitballing here, but maybe as the bar increases, John would lose the ability to run, maybe slow down movement, and even could affect things like aiming accuracy or double vision. Well, all that's left now is to hunt down Hans Gruber. We have a showdown with Carl, wanting revenge for the death of his brother Tony. The M60 makes short work of our blonde-haired lunatic, for now. And then, FBI agents Johnson & Johnson get introduced, both being generic white guys, for reasons? I don't know. The game has already shown us character models with black skin, so I have no idea why this was done. And I always hate race swapping, no matter which way round it's done. One of these guys is white, the other is black. Stop fucking with my headcanon. There is no reason I can see for this to be done. And the fact they were different races in the film is why this joke works.
I'm Agent Johnson. This is Special Agent Johnson.
Oh, how you doing?
No relation.
It's not a big deal in a grand scheme of things. They don't actually appear again. Not even on the roof scene, where John bungee jumps off the building using a fire hose. Oh, you know they were including this. It was on the bloody box. We do a little more firefighting. Don't worry, I'm not going to spurg out again with my firefighting PTSD. And then it's time for the final showdown with Hans.
Still the cowboy, Mr. McClane. Are Americans all alike? Well, this time, John Wayne does not walk off into the sunset with Grace Kelly.
You'd have made a pretty good cowboy yourself, Hans.
What was it you said to me before? Yippee-ki-yay?
So this was it. This was the reason we had to get the sniper rifle. It's the only way to take out Hans, as get too close, and Holly is taking one to the dome. It's a very robotic and drawn out fight. Wait until Holly lurches sideways. Then take your shot. Although, I must say, Gruber's head endurance is quite remarkable. After 3 stages, the final shot is fired. Break the glass, and Holly gives Hans the final push.
John McClane, I presume. Pleasure to meet you, partner.
Al, this is my wife, Holly. Holly Gennaro.
Holly McClane.
Hello, Holly. Got yourself a good man. Take good care of him.
Oh, hi, Carl.
Whoa, this one's with me. Well, Merry Christmas, Argyle.
Man, if this is their idea of Christmas, I gotta be here for New Year's.
This closing scene doesn't have the same impact as the film, trying to pull it off in first person. But at least they tried. And roll credits. Whoa. That will not do. I'm guessing the developers couldn't play Vaughn Monroe's version of Let It Snow here for the same reason I can't. Copyright. Well, I'll do my best to fix it. Oh, and one more thing. A quick word with the developers. This is not how letterboxing works in movies. Die Hard, for instance, was shot in a 2:35:1 aspect ratio on 50mm film. These bars aren't placed over the footage. There is no hidden video under the letterboxing. That's just the size of the film. This is why the credits or anything else never goes over this area. I know, I'm being pedantic, but I wouldn't be the Wranker if I wasn't a pernickety bellend. So let me fix that for you too. There you go. Wow, what a topsy-turvy game in the way of quality. Piranha Games' execution here was a little strange to say the least. But I would be lying if I said I didn't have a great time playing this. It may have seemed due to the criticisms I had in this retrospective that I didn't like this game, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Is my opinion totally skewed by the seasonal leeway I'm giving this game due to my love of Christmas and the nostalgia of watching Die Hard as a kid in the 80s? Yes, without a doubt. But unfortunately, I just can't separate myself from the memories of watching this film with my old late granddad at Christmas staying up way too late eating cheese and crackers. Now, is this a game I would recommend? Well, it depends. Do you love the holiday season? Do you love the first Die Hard movie? If the answer to both these questions is yes, then I would say it's a must-play. Objectively though, standing on its own, there's nothing exceptional about Die Hard Nakatomi Plaza. The gameplay is adequated, the graphics are the definition of middle of the road, and the cutscenes are just terrible. But if viewing this, as I said earlier, as a love letter to the original film, looking for a little more content from the 80s classic, then you will certainly get something out of this. And with a playthrough clocking in at around 4 to 5 hours, it's definitely worth carving out a little time during the holiday season to give this one a playthrough. I'm actually glad that, unlike on my How Good Was It series, here, on the Game Vault, I don't offer scores and rankings because objective numbers would in no way accurately represent my enjoyment of this title. As for the story, it's hard to criticise it too much. A factoid you probably know, and no shame if not, but the first Die Hard film is not an original work. It's based on a book written by Roderick Thorpe titled Nothing Lasts Forever, a title deserving of an Ian Fleming novel. It's actually a very good read, especially if you like the movie. The tone of the story is much darker, the ending takes a very different turn, and it's a far more intense experience. So, with that knowledge in hand, it's hard to come down on the game for not sticking beat for beat with the film, as the film is a far cry from the book it's based on. Overall, Piranha did a good job conveying the narrative, even if you haven't seen the film or read the source material. While looking over the reviews for this game, I was very surprised by the incredibly average scores and mixed reviews this game got. The only UK magazine review I could find seems to be slightly conflicting, giving the game a 74% while delivering this very eloquent line. Nakatomi Plaza is well worth a look, especially at this price. It's time to pull a pig off the shelf and realise that what lies within is well worth your attention. Still wouldn't shag it though. For our American friends, that is what we would call a backhanded compliment here. I think something that really hurt Nakatomi Plaza was the release of another game. In the same time frame, for God knows what reason, Fox published another tie-in title, Die Hard Vendetta, released only months after this game. Even though Vendetta went on to get poor reviews, the magazines of the time were giving it a lot more attention, with little to no mention of Nakatomi Plaza. This couldn't have helped, and could go some ways to explaining why this is such an obscure title, in regards to getting this running in the current day. That's a tricky one. As I mentioned early on, this game does not play well with current hardware, and due to the licensing issues, it never got a GOG type re-release. Unless you're really into old PC hardware, I wouldn't recommend going the madness-inducing route I took of building a retro PC just to play this game. Luckily, I love that stuff, and building the Windows XP PC and using the original disc was all part of the experience for me. You could try a virtual machine, but that was a fruitless endeavour for me, not getting past the launcher. Probably the best route to go, if you have a little know-how and some time to play around, is to jump over to the PC Gaming Wiki, as it's a great resource for this game. I'll leave a link in the description, and there you will find the official 1.04 patch, recommended wrappers to fix the FPS issues, config resolution fixes, and even a link to a user-created, improved edition that apparently fixes most of the issues I come across. I haven't tried it personally, as I wanted the as-is experience, but it apparently fixes things like poor enemy AI, reduces the crazy high hit points of bosses, better balances the difficulty levels, and even removes the instant game over for shooting the SWAT team. God, I wish I knew that. Now, with that being said, how can you get this game? I personally like to own the games I cover, and considering a complete boxed copy in excellent condition only cost me £5, there really wasn't a choice to make. But I can promise you, this isn't me being virtuous. If this were a mega rare, secondary market, £500 game, I would have found another way. So, in short, I am really happy I took a chance on Die Hard Nakatomi Plaza, and after 20 plus years of this game sitting in my memory vault, I think I chose well and picked the perfect time to finally give this one a go. Well, that's the retrospective. I hope you got at least a little taste of Christmas nostalgia. I have the next video in the works and some ideas floating around, so subscribe to be notified next time I go on a silly old, long-winded adventure. And to you and yours, have a Merry Christmas. May your stockings be full and your tidings be joyful. And I will see you next time.